Hey all, here at OS Reviews, you're watching our hands-on review of Brobot. This is a smart IP security camera that is advertised for children, so it's called the BabyCam HD. It comes in a number of fun colors from blue to oranges, and it retails for under $50, which is not bad, even if you compare it with a regular security camera that is actually on the lower end of the pricing bracket as well. It has a 720p sensor, and it has also an IR mode, which means you can still see images and videos in the dark, and there's also an app that you can download for iOS or for Android. On the side, there's some very basic information presented. You can connect it also using Ethernet if you don't want to use Wi-Fi, in addition to a mounting bracket, so you can successfully put it onto a wall or onto a desk, even onto, let's say, some kind of bed, so that you're able to, again, keep things still and see your child at night. It also features motion detection, two-way audio, again, pretty standard features these days, so that if motion is detected, it will send you a notification. And what two-way audio means is there's a microphone and speaker, so you can hear sound, and you can communicate like on a walkie-talkie by saying something, and the child on the other room is able to hear. So here's the instruction manual. You can see that it includes the contents and a QR code that you can scan to download the companion app. And this is the Brobot itself, along with a standard USB-based power cable. And underneath the Brobot, we have access to the mounting bracket, in addition to the micro USB cable. The mount itself, this is what it looks like. You can have a few different adjustable angles for it to be mounted on the bottom, and this part is what's mounted physically onto a wall. So again, a pretty neat accessory that you get as part of the $50 MRSP. Taking a look at the design of the Brobot here, it is constructed out of a polycarbonate plastic, and one of the things that's actually pretty cool about it is it has a motor which allows you to pan and tilt not only along its base, so it can spin like this 360 degrees, but also up and down. $50 is a steal. That's even cheaper than Xiaomi's offerings, and Xiaomi is a good gold standard as far as value for consumer electronics are concerned. So something like this, which is kind of designed in the States as well as marketed, even for kids, really has a low cost, which is why I'm kind of excited to take a closer look at this and see if the performance really holds up. So here's the lens. This is the kind of IR sensor. The build quality is made out of a polycarbonate plastic, but it feels reasonably well put together. There's the speakers on the either side, along with the microphone. There's a micro SD card slot, so you can store content locally on the Brobot, and then save video files and images to take a look at later on. And then on the bottom here's the power port, and there's also a micro USB port for, I guess, transferring files over from the SD card if you don't want to remove it. And finally, on the base here, again, there's that tripod mount and a micro USB port, which is actually used for the Ethernet. So I misspoke earlier. This is not the power adapter, but rather you have a proprietary plug for that. It's still a USB cable, however, and this one is just for connecting the optional Ethernet if you want wired internet. The setup process is really similar to most security cams like the Xiaomi ones on the market. You simply open up the app, it's called Brobot, and from there, the first screen that actually pops up is actually a profile screen where you can manage your cameras, and here you can tap on plus. That will allow you to connect a new camera to Wi-Fi or add a connected camera. So the first thing you need to do is connect your new camera to Wi-Fi. You'll hear a voice prompt on the camera that says the Brobot is ready, and afterwards you tap on connect a new camera to Wi-Fi, and you enter the network name that you want to connect to. So you have to enter this yourself. It doesn't actually search what's available in your region. And afterwards you tap on next, and it's going to pop up as a QR code. The QR code then needs to be scanned by the Brobot's camera. So you would put the phone in front of the camera like this, about 4 inches away, and then just going to be another voice prompt that says the network is successful. And afterwards you can tap on plus to scan available cameras in your network, and it will show up in a list. And of course you can buy multiple cameras and they will all show up sequentially. So this part actually is pretty quick. It only takes roughly 30 seconds for you to connect. Obviously this also depends on your network speed. If the Wi-Fi is, router is too far away, or if your internet speed is really slow, then that will affect the setup process. It's going to make it a little bit slower and sluggish as well. From here I can also rename this camera if I wanted to. I can add different tags to it and delete it if I want to change let's say the profile settings. On the edge here, I can also take a look at my live view, scan my network for more cameras, and go into more settings to change things like recording settings, as well as setting up passwords, so that each time you go into this app, you have to enter something for security purposes, things like that. All right, so let's go and take a look at our live view, and this is what that interface looks like. The audio does have a little bit of distortion. The speakers have a little bit of a hissing sometimes, so it's not completely silent. That's just because the microphone is active right now. The main screen is simply like this. You can tell this is what the image that the camera is seeing looks like. And if you can rotate the phone or you tap on the image, it can also go into full screen mode. For a 720p sensor, it's actually very accurate and detailed looking. There's also a timestamp on the very top, so it gives you a indication of, again, what particular day and time it's being recorded at. There's a joystick on the bottom here that allows me to rotate the camera, so I can rotate it left and right, as you can see there. You can see that sometimes the image will take a few seconds before it goes into view again, just because, again, we are a little bit far from our router. But overall, it works pretty well as far as navigating and controlling the Brobot. You can see the motors are a little bit slow. Rotation definitely takes a few seconds for it to spin, on its base, and the same thing goes with tilting the head up and down. But overall, everything is adjustable using the app, so you do have access to all those controls. And again, you have the ability to pan left, right, up, and down 360 degrees pretty comfortably using the joystick. Overall, the motor itself is actually pretty silent. It doesn't really make a sound. The only sound that you hear is that distortion, and that's partly caused by interference with the camera and other appliances I have nearby, and secondly because, again, I have the microphone open in this walkie-talkie mode. Finally, we can take a look at this graph that gives me an indicator of the noise level at particular points in time. I can also tap on this to take a look at my frame rates, network speed, things like that. So this gives me some more statistics about the motion sensing going on. And I can tap on this to play back images and videos recorded on the device's offline memory. So you can't actually store videos as well as images to the cloud. You can't actually store it on your phone's memory. It needs to be stored on the micro SD card. So that is one limitation. And as such, if you're playing back longer video clips that you've recorded, it's going to take significantly longer for it to buffer, which is why I'd recommend unplugging the micro SD card and putting it onto a computer if you want to play it back and review activity. On the top here, you have a bar that I can tap on to take a look at a microphone. So tapping on this and holding allows me to speak into my phone, and then using the speaker, it should come out. There is a little bit of delay, again, because of the network speed. Here I can also tap on the music to play back songs. So lullabies and other songs can be played back from the phone's memory, and it will be pushed over to the speakers there, like a network speaker. As a whole, I found the interface to be fairly smooth as well as easy to navigate. And again, it's nice that you have some advanced statistics as well, in addition to the usual controls like the joystick for navigating the motion of the camera. Finally, under camera settings, we can take a look at our audio, motion detection, and face tracking functions. So for instance, if we have face detection on, it will try to detect a face and focus and use the pan and tilt automatically to stay on that face, which is pretty interesting. In terms of events, I can get a notification when I have motion detected, or I can also have a vibration, so the phone will vibrate. Vice versa, I can also set up different types of notifications. Zoom and track on motion, so it will zoom in on the person that's moving. As you saw there, panning and tilting using the on-screen joystick seems a little slow, but if it's trying to do the object tracking by itself, it actually goes a little bit faster. In complete darkness, you can see that the IR sensors and lights actually work really well. It illuminates subjects without any problems, but the overall image quality turns into black and white instead of full color. But you can see that objects remain fully visible in terms of their general shape and outline, so no real complaints there. So it's invisible to the human eye, and it can only be seen with the camera in this particular setup. But again, you can see that the viewfinder and the phone, it's now looking at the phone, and it's popped up into view without any problems. If I turn on the lights once again, you'll hear a click, and that simply means that the lens has now changed back into the full color regular view, as you can see here. So it switches back and forth automatically and actually does a pretty good job. So that's the Brobot IP security cam. At $50, I still think it's a great value because you can't really find any other competitor that offers the same pan and tilt functionality 360 degrees both on the base and also on the lens up and down, in addition to having that pretty good IR mode for dark, for images and videos in the dark. It also has a fairly robust software suite. It's quite simple, but most of the things work without too many issues. issues, and it gives you quite a few different adjustments for the positioning as well as connecting to Wi-Fi or using Ethernet. Some of the downsides would include I found the speakers and microphone for the walkie-talkie mode to be a little bit noisy, especially when your router or Wi-Fi speed is a little bit slower. You'll hear that static, that hissing in the background. It's not quite as silent as some of its competitors, so maybe that's something that they need to work on in a firmware update, as well as the pan and tilt is a little bit slow using the app, so I hope that they can maybe improve on the speed a little bit if you want to go a little faster back and forth between a room. But the overall performance of the images as well as the build quality of the unit seems to be quite good, especially again considering the bargain price. You can check out more details about the BroBot in our official written review, but for now this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.